This is Comic Geek Speak, Book of the Month Club number 6, The Goon, Nothing But Misery. And welcome to Comic Geek Speak. I'm Brian Deemer.
I'm Kevin Moyer. I'm Shane Kelly.
I'm Jamie D.
I'm Peter Rios.
And we're going to talk about The Goon.
The Goon.
The Goon. Dark Horse. The Goon. Yeah. Who wants to start?
Sure.
Let's start. Who's read this before? Jamie, are you the only one who read this before we actually got these?
I believe so, yes.
And you've read the entire run?
The only thing I hadn't read was the stuff in the Zero trade paperback, which I just picked up. I haven't got a chance to sit back and go back and read that. But I've been picking this up since its initial Dark Horse run, and this trade paperback came out to coincide with that. This was put out by, I guess it's Exploding Albatross Comics, which was Eric Powell's own publishing label or publishing entity, and this is just it's almost kind of hit and miss type story with the Goon. It's doesn't really give you a lot of origin. The Dark Horse stuff, there is an origin issue that talks about his origin, how he grew up in the carnival and all that kind of stuff, and touches on how he became the tough guy for the city that he lives in. I don't even think they've ever really mentioned what city that is, and the whole part about how he became the enforcer, and that whole mystery on the head, the crime boss head, why they haven't seen him for a while, and what happened to him, and that's and it goes from there. It's to me it's a very episodic book. You don't have to read the entire book, I think, to enjoy the stories. I really like the stories that are in this, especially the Christmas one. That one is one of my favorites, and but I love the series. It's been a series I've been talking about and trying to get people to pick up for a while, and I was kind of glad we decided that this would be a Book of the Month Club. So what did everybody else think?
Well, it's not my cup of tea. I have to say that. And I love a good humor book, but this one, it read really, unfairly compared to Tomb of Dracula. All 700 pages of Tomb of Dracula. It read really fast, and when I was done with it, I went, whoa. It was almost like, like whiplash in a car. It's like, it's done already. And then I said, okay, that was like, as soon as we got this trade, I read it. So then I said, okay, I'll put it away. I'll come back to it closer to when, we were recording it. And I read it again. And it's still, I can see why it's very popular. I can see why why people enjoy it, but it's not my cup of tea. So, that's what I have to say.
I was pleasantly surprised. I wasn't thinking I would like it because I'm not really a big humor book guy. But maybe his sense of humor is very much in line with my own. Like it's only like the third page or something when who's the little guy? Norton, is that his name?
Frankie.
What the hell? I don't know.
Norton.
I don't know. I don't remember that kind of details.
It's Norton's pub.
Oh, okay. Pub. Well, they're talking to some fish guy, and he just goes, "Ha! Knife to the eye!" And it's like knife to the eye is a classic move, or something, mm-hmm. and he has to announce that that's what and that made me laugh. And like I said, it was only like the third or fourth page, so then I went, okay, I might like this. And then there were a bunch of other things like that I thought were funny.
Yeah, it's a very slanted humor to it. I mean, it's not your typical ha-ha book. It's very edgy as far as the humor goes. It's very
right on the inside where all the legal and trademarking stuff is, all that stuff. It says, although this volume is entitled Nothing But Misery, no small children suffered during the making of this comic. Yes, we tried fitting them into the catapult, but they were too large. We had to stick with the opossums. The opossum attack on Old Lady Jones's house has been unceasing for the past 4 days. We think she'll crack any day now. Like, I mean, that's just, it has nothing to do with anything, but it's funny. Mm-hmm. So,
I agree more with Peter. It wasn't exactly a thrill for me to read it. Like, I wasn't too excited when I got done with it. There were a lot of one-liners that I giggled at and chuckled. I like the ads that are thrown in every now and then, and I loved the what Brian said, the knife to the eye type stuff, and I loved the Santa Claus story. But overall, it didn't excite me that I want to go out and get the next one right away. If I happen upon the next volume, the next number 1 or the 0, and it's a 50% or more discount, yeah, I'll pick it up and I read it. But it's not something like Fables. I felt like I wanted to go get the next one right away. This one, yeah, I'll read it sometime down the road, but I don't feel the urgency that I would normally.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I read some of the issues. I used to pick this up before I even went to Dark Horse, and sporadic issues here and there, and read, and it interests me. I enjoy the book. It's just not something that I go out of my way to get and make it a point to get. If I pick it up, I pick it up. If I don't, I don't. The thing that I have to say the most that I enjoy about the book is Eric Powell's art. Mm-hmm. His art is just phenomenal. I mean, I could, even if I didn't read the book, I could just look at the art and be satisfied. I mean, I just really love his style. It's so simplistic, but yet it has such a unique style to it. And the coloring really adds to it as well. So to me, it's top quality. I mean, and it's a fun read. It's something, that's just something I could just pick up and read, every once in a while. And I'm interested in picking up more. I want to get, because like I said, I only picked up sporadic issues of when the comic as it was coming out. It wasn't that easy to get a hold of either.
No, people weren't ordering a lot of that.
Yeah, so I could only pick it up every so often, and I try to order it sometimes. And I enjoyed everything that I read, so I don't want to say it's a bad read. It's not. It's just something that doesn't stick out to me, and it's not something that I feel I need to go get. But I will pursue the other trades, and I will read them eventually. I just don't know when that would be.
Yeah, for me, it is almost like when we read Fables, and I was telling everybody to go out and get the next one. I recommend everybody, if they had any interest, like Kevin said, and they liked what they read, but maybe they were on the fence. I would suggest getting the next one, the Volume 2, the first Dark Horse stuff, because that's, to me, where it really, he took off as far as his story writing and his his art was always good, but his story writing, I think, he got a lot better as he's going along. I even think he realizes, and I've read interviews where he says it's been getting better as it's been going along. So I would definitely suggest, if you liked it, go out and find that next thing, the next volume of the trade.
Something I really did enjoy about it was how the artwork, and this again lends itself to the artwork directly, is how he seemed to throw in comic strip references, like Frankie having no eyes, like Little Orphan Annie. At least I took a lot of those things as throwbacks to old strips.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and there's also the one thing I think you miss a lot with the trade, as opposed to the book itself, is the letters page in this book is just amazing. I mean, if you can find, I say go and get the trades, which is great, but if you can find the individual issues, I highly recommend picking those up too, because the letters page is just absolutely hilarious. That legalese that Brian was talking about in like the Indencia stuff, each book has one of those. You always have to read. I always look to read that little legal thing because he always has something funny in there. I mean, I brought issue 14 in, which is the most current issue, and they had a photo contest, kind of like our photo contest, except just a little bit different. I mean, their photo contest was you had to equate the Goon with a strip club and chicken wings. And if you get a picture of, in a strip club eating chicken wings with the Goon, somehow then you won a prize. I can't remember what the prize was, but it's just wacky and wild stuff like that. That's in that letters page. That just it makes that book one of the books I look forward to reading each month. and the trades are good, but I almost would prefer if you picked up the individual issues.
That's a good point to point out about as far as where to go from here, as far as what to get next.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to pursue this, if you want to still, because my initial intention was to go back and get the Zero trade.
Mm-hmm.
So by you saying that now, then I will pursue the second trade.
Yeah.
And read that, because my initial reaction would be to go to the Zero and get more of the back stuff and
Mm-hmm.
fill in the gaps that I don't have of the issues and learn more about it that way. But
Yeah, I actually just said this to the guys before we started, that researching this, the volume 1 stuck out because it was actually released before any other volume. It was released July with a cover date or in July 03. Volume 0 wasn't released until April 04. So I just assumed that, a volume 1 meant that that's where all the beginnings of the story started. And then came to find out later that volume 2 is actually the first Dark Horse reprinting stuff. The stuff that he did, the new series for Dark Horse. That's also the book the trade that has the issue that he won the Eisner for, I believe. So when I found that out, I went, oh, well, that stinks. It's like, why didn't they market that a little differently, or maybe they just didn't know. Maybe maybe it took off later, and they said, oh, well, now we got to go back and do the Zero, which is weird too, because Zero is like, I think, issues 1 through 3 with a whole bunch of galleries and stuff, and this one is a continuation of Zero, but yet this one came out first. So I didn't understand that, but the like you said, volume 2 is the Dark Horse stuff, the actual Dark Horse stuff. So if anybody's interested, that's the stuff you want to go to next.
one thing I wanted to ask you, Jamie, since you've been reading this, since he's been published under the Dark Horse icon mantle, are the stories now, you said he's up to issue 14, are these stories now more of a continuity-based story? Is it like more ongoing stuff? Because one of the kind of things that I enjoyed about reading a Goon was that, you can read an issue or two and it's its own self-contained story. Not that there's no continuity at all. There is, things that he touches upon and brings into the stories that may have been something that mentioned before, but they're kind of self-contained.
Yeah, no, it's still more of an episodic, self-contained type storyline. The payoff on anything like that is there are the threads that go through all of the story. There's constantly the priest with the zombies, and how he's the Goon's main nemesis. The Vulture shows up a couple. I know he's in 14. I can't remember if he shows up before that or not. There's another bad guy who kind of turns good guy, Dr. Alloy. Who has the funniest thing with him is he has like this servant who speaks Spanish. And I've heard in interviews, because I've looked at it, and I can speak a little Spanish, I understand it, but Eric Powell said, don't try to translate it because it's gibberish. He said, I purposely put it in as gibberish, and it is total gibberish. So that's kind of funny, just knowing that it's there, you're looking at it, and you're trying to figure out what he's saying, and just realize it's all gibberish. But and that's Eric Powell. But no, it's more self-contained storylines, usually one issue, and it's that's one of the things I like about it, because you don't have to worry about not knowing what's going on. If you have a general idea on who the Goon is, you can buy issue 14 right now and read it and still enjoy it without having read the first 14 from Dark Horse, or you can start jumping to number 10. Whichever you find, you can read, enjoy, and boom, the next issue will be another storyline altogether.
Yeah, it did. When I first read it, it felt like a comic strip, like a elongated comic strip, and with that same thing where when you read comic strips now, the premise, if you're familiar with them, of I don't know where they work or who their neighbors are or things like that, but they're not important to the story. They're all background information. Mm-hmm. And then the story reads, and then you come to the end, and then you start at the next one, and they're back at the bar again, or something like that. And so it definitely read like that. I didn't feel like I was missing out on any information reading this one. I also didn't. It didn't feel like I had to know all about the Goon. by reading it. You know, it's just that's not the point. The point are the little individual stories that are, and like Shane was saying, you know, the comic strip type storytelling. His covers are phenomenal. I mean,
God, yeah.
the painterly aspects to his covers, I think, are just really great. And obviously,
that Norman Rockwell one, that's beautiful.
That's probably my favorite cover. And obviously, he's other people have noticed that because he's been doing stuff for Marvel and DC and things like that.
Yeah, he did that whole the Monsters
Marvel
Monster special, and he did all the covers for those, and then he did the Devil Dinosaur issue, which was actually the only issue of those that I bought. I haven't got a chance to read it yet. I've looked through it, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And
the fake ads are kind of funny too.
Yeah, they're hilarious.
The atomic
brain,
atomic rage. Yeah.
And I like the way that it's censored out, but you can still read what's, if you look close enough or decipher just from what the context is. It's fun. I mean, it's just fun. It's a good read. It's a good, fun read.
I did have to laugh at the little Conan type guy in the beginning of the one issue.
That was a funny,
but I do agree. This
first page too.
The Saint story was my favorite. That was that stood out to me as I was reading this trade. I was like, that's a cool story.
And as much as the Norman Rockwell one was cool, I'll be a pig and say I like the one with the two girls on it.
They're all great, but I just thought that knockoff with the Norman Rockwell nod is just, it's brilliance. I mean, it is just, his art is just brilliant. I love everything about it.
Who's this? Is this the priest, the one that's eating the zombies? Because in the backstory, he's a sheriff.
That's the Vulture.
I liked his origin tale that he told.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I
like the way they did it too in the flashback. He used his pencils,
mm-hmm.
just his rough pencils, with that sepia tone.
And they actually do that in this one, in number 14. There's another backstory with the Vulture, and actually I've started to read this one, but I haven't gotten to finish it, and it's all black and white, and it's really nice. I mean, it almost
looks like a very washed look to it.
Mm-hmm. To me, it's almost reminiscent of the Colon stuff, and we saw that just
mm-hmm.
some of the ways he did the rain and that kind of stuff.
Well, in his origin story, there's that one panel down here where he had to be throwing that up to Gollum from Lord of the Rings. It just looks exactly like the pose that they used in the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's just nice that way.
Yeah, he's a very self-effacing man. That's one thing I was at the panel in San Diego, and it was he's a very humble guy. I mean, you tell him you like his artwork. You tell him he does great stuff, and you like it. And it's almost like he's embarrassed to say thank you because he just he's just, I guess, doing what he loves to do and doesn't isn't looking for the accolades, and I think he definitely deserves them because he's a talent.
These images of Frankie in this space helmet thing, God, that makes me laugh every time. I was wishing he just had it on all the time because it's so funny. I didn't want it to go away.
You traded it for the pig head.
That's right. I mean, what's just a ridiculous
I got this pig head right here.
That's a mighty fine pig head.
And that's the other thing. I mean, sitting around talking about it, I feel like I enjoyed it more than I thought I did just thinking about it on my own. Because as we point things out, I'm like, yeah, I did like that. Yeah, I did like that. Yeah, I did laugh at that.
What's funny is, if you're not familiar with it, you could open it up and go, ooh, it's real cartoony or whatever. It's probably not what I would want to read. But for people who do enjoy this kind of stuff, the detail is there. I mean, as an artist, the detail is there. His background stuff, his bricks, and that one where he's shoving the brick in that guy's mouth. Even though the characters may seem simple because he's trying to keep a uniform look to them, all the background stuff and the fish and the monsters is he still shows that this guy he's got his style, and it goes beyond just the cartoony aspects of it.
I could easily see this translating into an
HBO animated series.
Or an MTV animated, one of those two.
I'd love to see this as an HBO animated. This would be a phenomenal thing, and that's perfect. It lends itself perfect for it because it's very episodic.
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of the reasons why I enjoyed reading it. I mean, I originally picked up the series because of the art.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the art, and I thought the concept was kind of unique. So I thought, well, I'm intrigued. I'm gonna buy this. I'm gonna pick up some issues and see what's up. And that's what held me with it. Like I said, before he got to Dark Horse, you could see his storytelling, like you said, is not that strong in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But it holds itself, you know. But it still was enough to keep me interested, you know, and it kept me bringing me in to want me to buy another issue and read more about it. And so I could easily see this being. So I hope he keeps that, you know, which it seems like he is, you know, that.
Yeah, I don't see any major story arcs coming into the Goon.
I mean, if he can do
no Crisis,
No.
yeah,
on Infinite Goons or something.
if he can do this and continue, you know, to keep the success that he's doing and receive the admiration and recognition that he deserves, then why change it? You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Although maybe we can figure out a way to do some spoof of House of M or Crisis in here where it's a bunch of goons doing something.
Bunch of zombies walking around.
There you go.
He has his style kind of reminds me of the old, and I can't remember the name of them, but I don't know if when they were. My older brother used to draw like vans and cars and funny poses, like when they would peel out, and then there'd always be like a hot chick on the side,
Yeah.
and I
like
don't
a
remember.
distorted reality kind of thing.
Yeah,
You know,
and
like the back end would be like swelled
Yep.
up. Yeah.
Yep. And then it's like that mixed with some of the horror comics that came out early, you know, in the 60s, 70s. Some of the storytelling of how they, you know, something happens and then by the end it's not like a fixed, a pat ending. It's not like a safe ending. And, you know, you see the scary monsters and the main guy in the story usually winds up dead and by the end of it. It kind of remind me of all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
On the back page of issue 14, it has Mezco has toys out of these too. If you like them, maybe you can seek those out because they look really good.
They do. They look like they're right out of the book.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was gonna say. I've seen them and they are really, really nice toys.
And if you collect all 4, you can build a zombie.
Seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. Showed Brian.
So there's a little piece of a zombie in each one.
Yeah, apparently.
That must be a new thing because I don't remember seeing that part of it. But that is kind of funny.
There is a main website,
That's great.
www.thegoon.com, and I think the toys are on there.
Are they? Cool.
And Mezco puts out nice stuff. I mean, I've seen other things. I can't think right off the top of my head other things that they do produce.
I've seen Edward Scissorhands.
Did they do
They've done
the gangster ones?
The Gangsta.
Gangsta.
Yeah, I think so. They did Hellboy toys. I'm just trying to think because I'm trying to remember the stand at San Diego.
Did they do the really big scale, like tall 1/4 scale Edward Scissorhands or something like that?
I think so, and I know they did a big Hellboy, and then they had some of the other not linear characters, but secondary characters that they did. And with the Goon, I think it's the Goon, Frankie, the Priest, and it's the guy who actually isn't in this comic. He's in the first Zero. But it's a guy with this. I don't know his origin, but the guy, he has a huge like right arm, and there's a bowling ball stuck on it.
Oh, yeah.
And there's some kind of origin where he's had that bowling ball stuck in his hand for all of his life or something like that. That's why he has this huge deformed arm because it lifting the bowling ball all the time just pumped it all up. So.
I do. As far as the humor, like Brian, you had the inside cover of the trade, and you read that little paragraph there. I noticed in the trade, and I also looking inside the inside cover of the issue 14, and it says zombies provided by Jethro and Earl Zombie Wranglering Incorporated and the Adopt a Zombie Foundation.
He has a little thing in here. It says this volume collects issues 1 through 4 of the Goon and the Goon Color Special, originally published by Albatross Exploding Funny Books, as well as the Goon short story, which originally appeared in the final issue of Dark Horse Presents. Yes, after setting creative milestones with the likes of Chadwick and Miller, Dark Horse Presents, possibly the greatest anthology comic of all time, ran a Goon story by Eric Powell and was subsequently canceled. Yeah, so clearly he doesn't mind poking fun at himself.
No.
I am intrigued to pick up the next trade to now that you especially have added some more info to that, insight to that. So I'm actually kind of intrigued to go order that now.
Yeah, I want to get it at some point. I mean, I can't say that it's a huge priority, but I am definitely intrigued enough to want to read it. It's just, of course, my list of trades is a mile long, and so sooner or later it will make it into the rotation.
I'll definitely get. I want to get 0 then too, and I'll get 2, and try to get caught up and stay in tuned.
I'm just kind of curious as to what everybody else out there and our listeners thought, because this, of all the ones we've done so far, this one really didn't solicit a lot of a lot of chatter on the forum. There wasn't a lot of I've read the
thread.
Goon, and then that turned into the Goon show about the British Goon show and all that kind of stuff. So that was, but I'm just curious what everybody else thought and hear those hear those comments.
I'm wondering if I looked at in stock trades, and checking to see what their top trades were, and I'm wondering, by reviewing those trades and as the time that this is going on, if it's being kind of overshadowed a bit by the Infinite Crisis stuff. Because if you look at in stock trades, like the top selling trades right now are all the
OMAC and Day of Vengeance or whatever. Yeah.
So I'm wondering, that it's just one of those things right now that people's focus is elsewhere, I guess, and maybe not as normally focused as they are when we had this.
Well, it got a boost because he won the Eisner Award. I mean, definitely got, and everybody who seems to talk about it seems to enjoy it highly. So it definitely is there. It's out there for people. It's almost like, Kirkman was doing Invincible and Walking Dead for the longest time, but it took him to do some Marvel team up before everybody then jumped on everything else. So maybe that's the same kind of path this will take.
I was really interested when I found out that he was doing those Marvel monthly covers.
The monsters,
Yeah, the monster books for October. I thought that was cool to see him get some mainstream exposure. Hopefully. Not that Dark Horse, I don't want to put anything down. I mean, not that they're not mainstream and not that they're not out there, but to see him in one of the big 2 was nice to see.
Oh, hopefully that'll bring a little more exposure to the Goon.
Yeah.
It's kind of disappointing when you got a guy who, whether you like it, whether it's your cup of tea or not, is extremely talented and is putting out a good comic. And I'm sure the numbers are, very low. It's probably, 20,000 or 18,000 or something like that. And, so then he has to go do Marvel covers so that he can get paid and maybe, attract a couple thousand more readers to his book so that it can be more self-sustaining and he can, instead, not live under the poverty line or that kind of thing. I mean, not that he might not be enjoying doing Marvel covers because maybe he's a big Marvel fan. I don't know. But it's too bad that he can't just live in a world that's nothing but the Goon, and just have great success with it and not have to worry about it,
But you got to, like you say, you got to give him credit. He's so incredibly talented and he's doing it. I mean, he's putting out his own book. He originally was, publishing it basically by himself. He had the Albatross guy with him, and they, published his initial issues. So he put it out there and went through it, and then eventually got under the focus of Dark Horse and got picked up by Dark Horse. So I mean,
he's done another thing for Dark Horse right now, and for the life of me, I cannot remember. It's like Two Gun Billy and a Weird West show or something along that lines.
Billy the Kid's Old Timey Oddities.
That's what it was. I believe that's out now in trade. I know that was like a 2 or 3 issue miniseries.
It's written by Eric, but drawn by Kyle Holtz.
So I have a feeling it's a lot of his his storytelling style and his humor put into it, just with somebody else drawing it.
Also says he has a collection of Universal Monster stories from Dark Horse called Cavalcade of Horror, and that should come out. It's in January. It has a cover by him.
Yeah.
For the new. Okay, so it's not interior stuff. It's a new painted cover by Eric for the collection of Universal Monster stories from Dark Horse called Cavalcade of Horror.
Yeah, it's a trade paperback. I'm pretty sure.
I'm looking at the forum for the post, and response is mostly good. First guy, Grayson Geek, says, I'm about halfway through it, and I love it. I have to keep stopping myself from reading more than one issue at a time. R. Johnson says, I enjoyed it. I've ordered the second one. I'll probably end up getting them all eventually. Flint Lockjaw says, I got a couple of the Goon issues. Love the artwork, very Eisner-esque, but that's about it. For me, it's like Mignola's work, style over substance. Marathon says, this one didn't do it for me. It was okay and luckily quite cheap, but I won't be getting any more of it. And Sandman 300 says, I thought it was a great read, lots of fun, and would like to know the origin of the Goon. Is that in one of the trades? Well, we've answered that. Was really slapstick, and Frankie was a great character. And then Citizen Dave says, just started, great so far. For those of you not enjoying the Goon, I can understand how the tone and style of this particular literary effort might not appeal to everyone. To that, I can only say, knife to the eye! That's great.
Got a lot of people in our forum.
You bet. You bet.
Zumbini says, after reading the first 6 issues, I got a Goon craving and read the rest. I just love how Powell can mix comedy and drama. I don't remember which issues are 1 through 6, but the football issue is an excellent example.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorites.
L Train said, all I'm saying is, how can you go wrong with the Goon? Citizen Dave said, number 9 is the football issue. Outstanding issue. Very heartfelt. Might be my favorite. Revolver 86. I just got volumes 0 through 1. Thought it had a lot of style and fun ambiance, which is what I'm all about. I felt that CGS should have suggested volume 0 as well because I thought it helped flesh things out better. I'll probably pick up the rest after I'm finished getting the Invincibles trades. Let's see here. Seeker says, I thought it was pretty amusing. However, the commercials were by far the best part. I loved that cussing radioactive hero. Oh, well, it's hard to be impressed when you read The Goon right after finishing the last Preacher trade. Well, does change your perspective, I suppose. Citizen Dave is back with more. He says, just finished this trade and loved it. I put the number 3 on my Christmas list. One of the greatest aspects of The Goon isn't just the humor and the horror, but the fact that it also has a lot of heart. The tale of the buzzard really has me hooked. This is the second time I've seen from him. I think the first time is actually a future issue. Anything else? Okay, Ollie Murdoch says, just finished up yesterday, and I must say it is the best blend of horror, humor, and plain silliness I have ever read. Just a fun read, and the Powell's ads are just laugh-out-loud funny. My favorite was the last story about the alien and the characters realizing it was just a quick, be it bad, science fiction filler, and they all look back like they're looking at Powell.
Do you think that was a jab at M. Night Shyamalan's Signs?
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Which one?
The last one.
The one where it's
the water.
Yeah, water, and if water affected you that way, as soon as you took your first breath, you would be dying.
Right.
Oh, that's definitely a jab at that.
Oh, I didn't even think about it.
Which made me laugh even harder.
The Pamp. Well, he must be new. I don't remember reading his post before.
Can't believe I kept calling this guy the Vulture. This is a buzzard. Jeez.
I know. I was like,
Well, God, take away my Goon badge. I'm sorry.
This guy, the Pamp says, I'm about halfway through, and so far I'm very impressed. It has the perfect mix of retro artwork and hilarious modern concepts. Evil beings doing it with inflatable chickens. The idea that a seemingly ordinary yet strong man simply punches his way through hordes and hordes of the undead is so laughable that it makes it work. No special incantations or amulets, just good old-fashioned ass-kicking. Another great thing is the dynamic between Frankie and the Goon. While reading, I can hear Frankie's voice in my head, and he sounds like the little Jack Terrier that would always follow the big bulldog in the Looney Tunes shorts.
Exactly. That's exactly the voice I had for him, too.
That's all, though.
Hey, Spike, come on, Spike. Hey, Spike, come on. Come on, Goon, let's go.
That's all we have on the farm, then.
Cool.
How does this rate, and is it even fair to compare as a book of the month?
Well, go ahead.
For a
Jim.
book of the month, for me, for the grandiose stories we've covered already, I would rate it lower on our scale of book of the month that we've done already. If we, and it's not a bad thing. It's just we've done Crisis, we've done, the first volume of Walking Dead, which sets up a whole ongoing thing. There's things about them that lend itself to being a larger story, which this clearly isn't. It's episodic, and if we end up doing more book of the months where we have smaller, shorter arcs, I think it would fit in just nicely. But for the grand style that we've done so far, it's a little bit lower on my list of ranking.
I guess if you look at it from the point of view that the book of the month is, the idea is to expose readers to things that are widely considered to be good reads and interesting stories, and sometimes important, sometimes just good stuff. This is nothing like Crisis, but I think it's an important book if you like this kind of thing. If this is your cup of tea, then you should know about this book because it's very good at doing what it does. And so for that, I think it fits nicely into the Book of the Month Club because, and again, I would, because of the artwork, I thought I always wanted to read this, but probably I never would have bought it. And because we're doing it, I'm going, wow, now I like it, and now I know that I want to read more of it eventually. And again, I really don't dig humor comics. It's really not my thing, even though I love Gru.
That's the funniest thing coming from Gru as your favorite comic book.
Well, it's because I was young when I read it, and it stuck with me. But, I mean, other than Gru, I don't read any humor comics and never have read any humor comics and really don't care to read any humor comics. So I don't know. I think it holds up. For again, because I don't think that anybody out there is going to like every single Book of the Month Club that we do.
No, that's not what. That's not what. When I just thought about asking the question, it's funny what you looked at it saying that it fits. The same criteria you just said makes me realize that, like you said, if it's your cup of tea, then yes, then it's a good Book of the Month selection. But I tend to think of the Book of the Month selections as, regardless of whether you like it or hate it, it's always going to stand up. You know what I mean? Like Crisis and Kevin Smith's Daredevil and what was the other one? That's kind of big. Oh, like Tomb of Dracula. Like, regardless of whether someone likes it or hates it,
it was important for comics.
Yeah, like it's such in the mindset of history, and maybe somewhere down the road, maybe this is too early to even say that this is going to go either way. Maybe in 10 years the Goon will set off like a whole, trend in comics or something like that. So maybe it's too early to even judge it that way, but that's kind of why I asked that question.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I say it does because I look at it as the Book of the Month as something that it's to, just like Fables. I mean, again, that's something I would have never picked up and read had it not been something that we chose to put a spotlight on. Right. And I think it's important not just to focus on something that's grand or something that's withstanding, but something that's new and fresh and could be just as well as interesting as anything else. So in my viewpoint of it, I think I don't regret making it the Book of the Month, and I think it holds up as under those standards, as it's something that it's worthwhile checking out. And like you said, not everybody's going to like everything we pick. However, I feel in the grand scheme of things that everything that we've recommended is quality and holds up on some level, and it's some more so on other people's levels. How everybody views everything. So I think it's something that no matter how you view it and whatever reasons you enjoy it, whether it's the Goon or Fables or Tomb of Dracula or Crisis, it's important. And I think he wouldn't be getting the recognition if he's getting if it wasn't a quality produced book. So for my cup of tea, I think again it's not something that I normally read. I don't read humor comics either, and I really found this to be something that was intriguing without even reading an issue. So that to me lent itself to being worthwhile to put a spotlight on it. So,
well, I mean, most of the Book of the Month Club, there have been lots of opportunities for discussion, in depth, heavy duty discussion about plot points and this and that, and what does it mean and what are the ramifications and all this kind of stuff. And we've had arguments over characters' motivations and all this stuff. And you can't really do that with this because it's very face value. Okay, here's people, they do some things, it's funny, you laugh at a joke, whatever. So, in that regard, it makes for a lousy Book of the Month Club selection because what can we really say about it other than, well, I liked it, I didn't like it. There's not a whole lot of area for discussion. But for exposing a good comic to, even if 10 people out there bought it and liked it and continue to buy the book, well then, that's good because I think it's worthy of 10 more readers.
Well, and I totally agree with Brian and Kevin saying that it's something that they wouldn't have picked up because I wouldn't have either. And for Book of the Month, for me, even that's good because I read anything that we choose because that's what we're choosing. And I wouldn't have read Fables, and I wouldn't have read this, and I wouldn't have read Walking Dead. But I'm no regrets ever reading, whether I end up liking it or hating it. I'm just glad to have the opportunity to read it and discuss it in our group because we always do discuss things so well, I think, in our group. And we've always done that.
Right. One of the things that I've said before is that, especially John, has gotten me to read so many things that I never would have read, and by doing so, has opened me to a lot of things that, I just wouldn't have been open to. I just would have never read.
I think John has a whammy in his eye that he on you and gets you because me too. He has gotten me to read so much that I never ever would have picked up.
I mean, John has a talent where he can pick up on what you enjoy, and he has can get a pulse on your feelings towards things, and he'll recommend things that he thinks that you would find interesting. And almost everything he's ever introduced to me, I've ended up buying and reading it. So I mean,
we should start a new segment on the show. John will call you and talk to you for 15 minutes, get a feel for you,
like a comic consultant,
and then give you a list of 5 titles you should be reading. Based on that, he'll come up with 10 questions. We'll submit them by email based on your answers to those 10 questions. He can formulate your likes and dislikes. And
John's pick of the week.
The amazing Karnak.
Yeah, exactly. Karnak of comics.
And unlike other picks of the week that you see at the comic store and stuff, I actually think he actually put a lot of effort into choosing his pick of the week when they did have them, more so than the other guys. Not to put the other guys down,
like
I'm
Jamie's
sure they did.
Picks always suck.
Gee, thanks. Yeah. I'm sitting right here.
But John's more than any, I would agree with. Even if I never read it and he recommended it, and I would read it.
Not like Lem, who picked whatever he over-ordered the most that week. Oh, this special
foil cover.
That's right. Yeah, we'll put that up there.
No,
I got 92 issues of the Abomination miniseries. Yeah, that's a book. That's a pick.
Well, did you have a pick over at the Berkshire? Because most of the time it was John and Alex.
No, I didn't have.
And one. that's where I always got my books when there was a Berkshire store. So I never saw Jamie's picks. So nothing against Jamie.
Yeah, I hear you. As far as my 2 cents, as far as should this be a good Book of the Month club, when I suggested this segment, this is the kind of book I wanted us to do, because just that reason. I mean, Crisis, it's real easy to get people to read Crisis because of what was going on and but it's not real easy to get people to read the Goon or Fables or Walking Dead or Tomb of Dracula or, well, I won't say that about Daredevil because, again, Daredevil with Kevin Smith is probably a little easier to get people to read that, but still, even that one, this totally fits my criteria because I wanted this to showcase a book that deserves a broader outlet, a broader light. And even though he's winning Eisner Awards and he's getting a lot of accolades, it still isn't one of the better selling books. And if we can get, like Brian said, if we can get 10 people who have never picked up the Goon before to pick it up and enjoy it, that's 10 more people that I feel that we've reached, and it's one of the things I love doing about this show when we reach people and we get those, damn you emails, damn you, I've now added this to my list, my wife's going to kill me email. But it means I think we're in tune with our audience, and we're bringing something new, and that's really all I wanted to do with the Book of the Month Club, is bring something new that again. Kevin said he had picked some up, but out of the 5 people sitting in this room, I was the only one who had read it on any kind of regular basis. And everybody else, even, Peter didn't give it a glowing review, but he said he enjoyed what he read. Everybody else is...
No, I didn't say that.
You didn't?
No.
So you didn't enjoy it at all?
No, I did not. I said it wasn't my cup of tea.
Okay.
I said I could understand why people would enjoy it, but I did not enjoy it. No.
Okay. No. Well, then 3 out of...
That's funny to me, because he's over there laughing his ass off at that Team America movie, and I was sitting there with stone cold face, and then I like this, and he doesn't. I can't figure it out.
Yeah, but you also don't like The Simpsons, so that ends that argument.
But anyway.
I didn't say I don't like The Simpsons. I said it's not enough for me to make a habit out of watching it,
So yeah, I'll just keep going right back.
Yeah.
Trudge ahead, trudge ahead,
This ends up in
trudge ahead.
Else.
Before we go into
we'll go on a
Thunderdome.
big tangent there.
No, this was perfect and exactly what I think this segment should be.
But
it's spotlighting something new.
What's funny, when we get those emails of people saying that their wives are going to kill them, it doesn't sound like they need to get out of comics. It sounds like they need to get out of their marriage.
Says the bitter
Single boy.
womanless.
Yeah.
I like seeing those emails, and I go, see, Carlene, there are more people buy more than me. See, more than me.
Justification.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Makes me feel better about myself.
But see, I just look at it, just amongst ourselves as far as, diversity. All the different things that we enjoy reading and how we all perceive things and what we enjoy about specific books or things that we read. To me, it just shows that, out of the 5 of us, Peter's the one that will say he didn't enjoy it. Shane said, it's not his cup of tea, but he still didn't mind reading it. It was still enjoyable, and I'm kind of a little above that, where it's not my cup of tea either, but it's still something I'm interested in, and I intend to pursue it. And I think Brian's about the same level as me, and Jamie, you're an on-time reader, so it just goes to show that even a book of the month we have our own diverse outlooks on it, and so it's just as matter as the same with the readers and the people on our forum who choose to take a shot at it with our book of the month, and that to me is why I feel the book of the month is important, is what it is.
Well, and we appreciate when they do that. I mean, it's more enjoyable when you can get an email or read on the forum. People are reading it with you. It just adds that much more depth to what we're doing, what we're reading, how we're perceiving it.
If you can get how many people to read 20-some issues of Tomb of Dracula in 1 month, then people are taking
anything.
They're taking what you're doing is taking it seriously, and that to me is what it's all about. So, I don't want everybody to come back and say, this is a great book, you guys, blah 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 blah. I expect people to come back and say, no, this isn't something that I'm going to continue to get. However, the reviews on the forum, the responses have been a majority, I'd say 80%, 85% positive, that they enjoyed reading it, they're glad we picked it, and they're going to pursue it further. Even at some point, not right away, but I think it's worth it.
Well, I love the opportunity to read something that I never read, or in some of these cases, I've been putting off. I hope every time we gather and have a discussion on what's going to be next, I'm hoping that it's something that I haven't read before, because I'm looking forward to the chance to read something new. That's cool.
It's like a fun way of forcing yourself to read something you would.
Yeah, it's
make
actually
yourself do.
fun homework.
Exactly. Exactly.
At the Comic Art Museum in San Francisco, California, they're running an exhibit called Gross, Gruesome, and Gothic. It's a spotlight on horror art in comics for the past 50 years, and it includes people like Edward Gorey, Graham Ingalls, Dave McKeon, Jill Thompson, which I thought was kind of a strange.
Gothic.
Well, Gothic.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The whole scary godmother thing is kind of Gothic.
And also, of course, Eric Powell. The exhibit is from October 1st through March 12th, and I'm pretty sure this is current news.
You hope so.
Well, it was on Dark Horse website, so
It's from last year, so it's over. You missed it.
There's no year here.
Yeah, it is, because they also talk about the Devil Dinosaur one-shot and a couple other things. So
Cool.
Well, I guess in keeping with suggestions for Book of the Month that I have never read, for December, we have selected Animal Man, the first trade, DC/Vertigo.
Gonna force Brian to read some Grant Morrison.
Yep.
his first American work, actually.
Really? Animal Man? I mean, Animal Man is an interesting character. I've had a few small exposures to him in various issues of whatever. And I have heard about this being so good for so many years from all you guys, talk about reading the Animal Man run or, whatever. So, we'll see if maybe Grant can do it for me this time. I mean, he lured me into JLA, but then cast me off by the end of his run as I was completely confused and had no idea. Arkham Asylum's great. I love that. So maybe I can like this.
What's the title on that? Or is there a title on
Volume 1?
Oh, it's just Volume 1.
Yeah, just Volume 1.
There's 3 trades total that's available for?
3 trades that collect all 26 issues of his of his run, and it wasn't under Vertigo at the time, but it has since they put it under that label. It is a complete story in itself. Not to talk about it too much. If you already have Volume 1 and you don't have 2 and 3, get 2 and 3, because the story is it's a 26 issue story. It's going to be kind of interesting to hear what you're going to say about just reading the first trade, without having read the second and the third. But we don't want people to go out and have to buy 3 trades for a book.
No.
And it's InStockTrades.com is offering all 3 40% off, and the first one will cost you $12, so that's a fairly reasonable price. It's normally a $20 trade. You can get it for $12. So we thank InStockTrades.com very much for offering the special discount. So we'll see you in 30 days, I suppose. Yeah. Any last words?
Nope.
Okay. Well, see you next month.